This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover this story that's out there and trending so much so that even Yahoo has picked up on this story without any actual credible evidence behind the story in regards to Oprah Winfrey hiring firefighters before the fires started in Maui. Now, the problem we're all running into now is being able to discern real information from fake information because things have changed over the last few years. There were people like me and many other YouTubers, I'm sure a lot of you watched, who are no longer YouTubers. They might be on different platforms, who are all wiped out. Now we have a lot of people who go on TikTok and are into these types of topics that just pick up stories and run with stories. This causes a huge problem because what it does is it swamps out and muddies the water, so to speak, about what's true and what isn't true. Now, I'm not saying that Oprah didn't have firefighters there. I have no idea. None of us do, but we know that Oprah's involved in all this stuff. We know Oprah knew what was going to happen in Maui. We know that they're all grabbing land. These are all factual things that we know, right? Do we know that firefighters were hired? No. So why does Yahoo pick up a story like this? Why do other people pick up stories like this? Because if Oprah's hiring firefighters, then people are like, well, Oprah knew that there was going to be wildfires in Maui beforehand. And it takes the attention away from the fact that this is a direct energy weapon hit. And that's exactly what this is a direct energy weapon hit. So in other words, Oprah would not have needed to hire firefighters. Why would she need to do that? When she knew that she was going to be spared and her land was going to be spared and all the other celebrities and millionaires and billionaires there were going to be spared because they all know what the plans are ahead of time. Hence, they bought land there ahead of time. Hence, they're buying up all the land in the Hawaiian Islands. Hence, they're buying up all the land in North America. Hence, half of our farmland is owned by Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. The other half pretty much owned by China at this point. So I'm covering this story because I'm not saying that it's not true. I've exposed Oprah for years and years and years. And we all know Oprah's a Satanist. We all know The Rock is a Satanist. We all know that all of these people who are presented to us as good people are not. That's part of the deception that they've been trained to push on the people, on the American public, so to speak, but it happens in every country with the famous people. They're the influencers. They're liars and deceivers like their father, the devil. And in this case, what we have now is people actually saying that Oprah knew about the fires. They're talking about this still like it's wildfires, because if anyone understood how a direct energy weapon hits, you know the term direct? That means that Oprah would not have needed firefighters there. So if stories start coming out where Yahoo is covering this, saying crazy conspiracy theorists are saying that she hired firefighters, they're taking attention away from direct energy weapons, and they're taking attention and credibility away from people like me and you who are trying to expose what's actually happening. You can't run with every story. Where is the evidence that there were firefighters there? Oprah already knew she was going to be safe and protected. So here's a viral video clip of a woman. And again, everything the woman says in the video, there's truth behind. These people don't care about Maui. We all get that. They don't care about any of us. If you read their religious books that they follow, one of them ends in the word mud. Some of the other ones end in the word har. Some of the other ones end in the word bala. If you follow those books, you'll understand that those are the books that they read. They even used to promote these things openly and these types of teachings openly. And if you go into their books, you'll see all the stuff revealed that's going on now with children, with how they view us as cattle and how we aren't even worthy to live amongst them. We're filth to them. And we're lucky to be alive, that they're letting us even be alive at this point. That's how they view themselves, and that's what their teachings tell them. So we know how wicked they are. But here's the clip that's viral, where there is some truth in it, but where if you start reporting on stuff without any actual evidence, well, then you give credibility to the mainstream media, because where's there's documentation that Oprah hired firefighters? Where are the firefighters? Are there firefighter videos that I'm missing? Because I didn't see any. If there are, can we have proof? Is there documentation? Is there video clips of them on our property protecting it? These are things that are needed before we can run with this stuff. Otherwise, they'll just continue to make people out there who are on the fringe of waking up not wake up, because they'll be looking for actual credible information, and then they'll just start dismissing everything that is deemed a conspiracy theory or everything that sounds like it's fringe, like a direct energy weapon. But this is the video that's viral.
You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that you somehow managed to hire a private firefighting team to protect your land before the fires started. You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that instead of taking some of that land and housing even a small portion of those displaced people, you've hired a private security team to keep them off your land. You're so concerned about Maui that you simply haven't had time to denounce any of the shady real estate deals which are robbing people of everything they have. You know, like the ones you were involved in that helped you acquire that land for pennies on the dollar of what it was actually worth. You're so concerned about Maui that instead of taking what would amount to a year's salary for you and 4 or 5 of your billionaire friends, which could be used to rebuild the entire place in a matter of months, you're jumping on social media and asking the American public, most of whom can't afford to pay their rent right now, to do it for you. You're so concerned about Maui that it's more important that you get social media points than that you help.
So we know when the mainstream media picks up, obviously they do it a lot of times to deflect. There's no arguing that, right? We know they picked up on Pizzagate, they picked up on other things to deflect attention and dismiss it. But now, just like we saw over the weekend, right? We saw the stories, I covered the stories about what was going on at Burning Man. There was a lot of truth behind some of the stuff going on at Burning Man. I was talking about if this was an event, we'll find out. I said, wait for the narrative, wait for the narrative. And it just died out that they all left, but there was thousands of videos and thousands of stories out there. Not about all the satanic crap that was going on, the signs, the symbols, the Wicker Man ritual that was being done, but about Ebola, about cannibalism. Those were the things that the media started to promote and talk about, right? Newsweek talking about cannibalism occurring at Burning Man, saying, can you believe these people believe it's cannibalism? Because a few people tweeted out jokes about it. Now even this story is getting picked up by Yahoo and other mainstream media outlets, where it says Oprah Winfrey faces accusations of hiring firefighters to protect her massive estate during Maui wildfire after requesting donations for displaced victims who lost their homes. Now, obviously, like I said a million times in the video already, we know Oprah and her role in this new world order. I've shown you many clips. I've shown you, if you're on the website, uprisingrevival.com, I put a video up about Oprah's connection, her school that she has, that she runs for children, is directly linked to abuse and other things. And that doesn't get covered by the mainstream media. Oprah obviously throws the signs and symbols up all the time. So Oprah's a billionaire, okay? You're not getting in the club unless you're one of them. But what we have is people talking about these stories about hiring firefighters. So if Oprah comes out and she's like, I didn't hire firefighters, there's no credible evidence, it actually just builds momentum for Oprah if we pick up on stories like this and run. And again, this is 100%, I'd say at this point. I don't often say 100%. You want to say 99.9%. It is overly obvious that this was a direct energy weapon hit. All the evidence shows us this. The way that the government responded shows us this. This was not a natural disaster. They barely even started pushing the climate agenda with this. Barely. Because they just don't want attention on it at all. We know they don't talk about what happened to all these missing people as well as missing kids specifically. Not giving the real numbers. Having Lahaina completely barricaded in. The smart cities, all these things, right? We know that this was a direct energy weapon hit just by the things we could see with our own eyes, as far as the melted vehicles. Everything is just, this is not something a real fire would start. Of course, I covered the stuff with the blue tarps, the blue umbrellas, the blue shirts, right? How direct energy weapons could target specific things based on colors, not just location. So Oprah would not need to hire firefighters to protect her massive estate, because Oprah would know that she's already protected. I actually don't even think Oprah was there on the island when this happened. They probably just rolled her in from one of the other islands after the fact, just like they did with all of the people who were responsible or supposed to be in charge of the relief efforts, right? Oh, they were just conveniently at a meeting about this topic actually happening on a separate island while it was happening. And they didn't even come in during it. They were like, oh, we're just going to monitor it from here while we meet and do PowerPoints over here while the real thing is happening over in Maui. We'll just sit around here and somebody order Chipotle, have it catered, and we'll get over there eventually. So Oprah rolled in, of course. We all know the stories with the Oprah, of course, hiring the camera crew to show up at the shelter. So it was on video of Oprah putting pillows behind people's backs. It was so fabricated, so fake. And what's good about some of this stuff is that people are actually waking up to who Oprah is, waking up to all these celebrities are. Okay, I don't think they expected people to turn on their beloved celebrities like they have. That's the reason, and one of the reasons I've been covering them for so many years. I used to get so much slack about clickbait and covering music videos to get views, even though more people would rather watch videos of talking about serious topics like this than talking about Doja Cat. I would assume the views show it, right? But I got to show everything that's going on so that people can wake up from different angles and see what's happening. But I always expose the celebrities because they're the ones who are the influencers. So when people start seeing that they're not influencers, that they're bad people, it breaks the spell. It breaks the mind control that they have over them. And we all know it's a massive amount of mind control that they're using on so many different people on a day-to-day basis. So we're seeing more and more of these mainstream media outlets, Newsweek, Yahoo, New York Times, picking up on a lot of the topics that we all talk about that used to be things that would never, ever get shown the light of day. But the problem is that when things start getting fabricated, when things start getting to the point where we were at Burning Man, where people were talking about cannibalism, yet people were uploading videos there and they're like, nothing's going on, everything's fine. Of course, again, the thing, people get mad at me. They're like, how, you're lying now. We would need evidence. I mean, you can't just make stuff up because then it discredits it when it's actually really happening. Okay? People could buy tickets to Burning Man. I made that very clear, right? This isn't Bohemian Grove where you cannot buy tickets to attend. You have to be invited. Okay, so they're not going to do cannibal ritual, to eat each other out in the middle of the public in the open because there's going to be people who don't even know what's going on that just want to attend the event. And they're going to tell people and it's going to spread and they're going to videotape it, right? When you go to Bohemian Grove in these places, you can't have a phone on you. They don't bring their phones inside in case somebody even does somehow infiltrate, even though Alex Jones's infiltration of Bohemian Grove was not real. We all know that was staged, but that's another story for another day. So when you start talking about Ebola and these things, then people start thinking of conspiracies and they go, you believe these people? They pick up stories without any evidence, even though we know that the media has no evidence for the stuff that they put out there and they ignore facts and truth, right? Telling us that men can have babies. I mean, all this stuff that they say is not true from so many different angles because they're a propaganda machine. But we don't want conspiracy to turn into a propaganda machine where we start picking up stories with no truth or evidence behind it. So could Oprah have hired a firefighter team? Of course she could have. But if we, what does the story like this do? You have to ask yourself when you hear this. You say, oh, she hired firefighters to fight a fire. It starts to discredit the theory of a direct energy weapon, doesn't it? Because the whole notion of a direct energy weapon is that it hits a specific target. They topograph the whole thing with the balloons and everything else that they had out flying over the island months prior. Okay, and they use a direct energy weapon, which is a direct hit where they want it to hit. And it leaves the places they don't want to get hit unhit, which is why you saw a lot of the other homes unhit. That's by design, right? So Oprah wouldn't need firefighters. But when you have theories like this out there, then it makes you think it's not a controlled event in a sense. It's a created event. You'll believe that narrative where you'll say, Oprah knew ahead of time. That's why she hired firefighters. And Oprah didn't invite anyone in her home. Okay, Oprah wouldn't have needed it. And Oprah, I guarantee you, wasn't even on the island when it happened. Okay? Oprah was wheeled in from Oahu or from the Big Island or somewhere else after the fact so that Oprah could show face because they probably knew there might be a little bit of backlash with Oprah if people Googled and saw, who owns land there? Okay. So, of course, Oprah had a camera crew prepared. I mean, what do you think? She's got a camera crew on the fly? Of course, that was all prepared ahead of time, right? Because she wasn't flying anybody in. At that time period, people couldn't get out or into the island, really. So Oprah had a camera crew ready so she'd go on with the pillows in case people were suspicious, in case people found some of the old articles out there about how much land she had purchased, because they do have a little bit, of awareness when they do these events. They're like, all right, what if they see us and they know that we have land? Okay, well, Oprah, go out to the shelter, put pillows behind people's backs so it looks like you care. Rock and Oprah, go out there next and do a charity because nobody bought into the pillow thing. Well, no, more and more people are not buying into it. So you got to watch when stories like this happen because Oprah can come out now and Oprah could be like, they all made this stuff up and I'm giving all that I can. And watch Oprah next open her home because they hear the backlash. Open her home, or Bezos open their home to people, and they'll probably have actors, of course, go in because they would never, ever let the goyim into their homes and would never give actual food from their own fridge or clothes off their own back to anybody else, of course. So, I'm starting to just worry about where some of this stuff is going. And I hate to be, the person who has to do videos talking about these topics, but you got to be careful. Because the days of we all used to do, and I still do, but conspiracy theorists or people who did this stuff would look into things. It doesn't mean that we're not wrong about stuff, but you can't just fabricate. You can't just, all of a sudden one person says on TikTok that Oprah hired firefighters, and then there's all these stories going viral from other TikTokers and other quote-unquote new conspiracy theorists saying that she hired firefighters. And then you just go, okay, well, let's see some evidence of it so that we could all get this information out there to people. And then you go, where's the evidence? Well, it all just links back to a TikToker who said that. Is there documentation? Is there video proof of firefighters being there? Right? No. And why would Oprah need firefighters there to protect her land? When Oprah obviously knew that the direct energy weapon wasn't going to go anywhere near her land. Or his land, I should say. So, again, just be careful with some of these stories. Again, I'm not saying it's 100% not true. I'm just saying, I'm sure a narrative is going to come out of this now because we're seeing them just muddy the waters about the truth that's actually out there on Maui, on all these other things that occur. And they muddy them with cannibalism. They muddy them with things that they actually do. Like the Oprah story is actually true. Oprah knew ahead of time what was going to happen. But Oprah would not need to hire firefighters. And notice how there was no stories out there about resources and things like that I was talking about at Burning Man, because it's very much going to be like a smart city where people are trapped. Notice there weren't any stories really out there at all about the origins of Burning Man as far as Satanism and human sacrifice and all of the stuff that you see there, like Amun-Ra or the Tower of Babel resurrected. You don't see stuff like that. People are like, well, that stuff's not really important. No, it is important. It is, because it shows you at the core who these people are and who they worship. So again, I mean, I'm going to repeat myself here, but we don't know if that story is true or isn't true, but you can't just take things and run with things. And when you see the mainstream media like Yahoo, et cetera, pick up on the stories, or Rolling Stone, then you suddenly got to go, well, why are they covering? Well, they're going to cover it if they know that they could either spread this so that people think that it was a wildfire and Oprah knew it was a wildfire. And you don't hear anything in there about direct energy weapon at all, because people don't even know what they are. They're like, what's a direct energy weapon? Oh, some military thing? It's too much to think about. Right? They're still on the notion that wildfires were actually the cause of it. You're still thinking wildfires were the actual cause, even though you might believe the government was responsible, which they are. Then you're still lost, because a wildfire would never burn like that. It wouldn't burn boats out in the water. It wouldn't melt cars. It's, the degree of the flame could only be that strong from a direct energy weapon. It's the same thing we saw in California years ago, and it's the same thing we're going to continue to see. They're picking locations and they're burning them out with direct energy weapons. Are they starting fires as well in places like Canada? Yes. Can they use direct energy weapons to start fires there? Yes. Why would they do it out in the middle of nowhere? Well, clearly they want to clear the land out in a lot of places where people aren't. And a lot of towns that they've obviously picked. We don't have blueprints of the maps that they go over at the UN and all these places where they meet in secret. Sure, there's leaked maps of where we think that they're going to build these smart cities and do these things, and they give you stories like I've covered of where they claim the 14 smart cities are going to be. But there's also going to be a lot of places that we never thought of where they're going to stick them. So all of this stuff is being designed by these people. They know exactly strategically where they want to burn out, who they want to burn out, what land they want, and how they're going to go about this. This is their blueprint. This is their game plan we're seeing done now in real time. So again, even stories like Oprah hiring firefighters is going to drown out any story about where missing children are. And a lot of people are like, well, maybe the children just burned. Well, maybe the children did burn. But they're only reporting that a few hundred people are dead. 150, I believe, was the number, the last I saw. And then they're saying there's 300 missing. Well, where's the other 2,000? Where are they? You're going to say they disintegrated from the beam? Well, okay, if they disintegrated, because I've heard people say, they're like, well, the kids disintegrated, so maybe they're not actually in tunnels. Okay, that's fine. But then they need to come out with a story about how the kids disintegrated, because have you ever seen any of these true crime? You could disintegrate with a wildfire, there'll still be bones. With a direct energy weapon, yeah, you could disintegrate. There won't be bones, there won't be teeth. With a direct energy weapon, that'll all turn to dust. But with a wildfire, these kids aren't going to turn to dust. Okay? So they're either, if you're going to go with the narrative, the mainstream media is going to talk about this like it's a wildfire and not address the kids. Well, there's a reason they're not doing it. And the reason they're not doing it is, because they would want to hide the kids as far as letting people know that kids are missing, because then people would become suspicious. And the other narrative of it, people are like, well, the kids might be dead. Well, then the media would come out and say that thousands of kids are dead from the wildfire and push their climate agenda. But they know that people would say, well, can't we find the kids' bones or teeth? It's just a wildfire. It wouldn't be able to burn through that. Oh, right. No, they can't use that narrative because they don't want people to know that it was a direct energy weapon. So clearly they don't want these types of stories out there. Direct energy weapon, missing kids, because they'll all tie together and people will be able to connect the dots. So they want story. Oh, well, maybe the government did it. Maybe Oprah knew and hired firefighters, right? Drown out truth. Drown out what really occurred. Drown out anything that people should be talking about as far as missing people or the actual number of people who are dead, because they're killing off and they're destroying evidence as well. And they destroyed the evidence with the direct energy weapon, the evidence of people's existence. And that's why they can make up numbers like 150 when it's really in the thousands, because they fried their bones completely. It's absolutely frightening. Prayers again for everybody out there affected. And again, I'm not starting an argument with anybody out there. If you want to believe that story is true, that's fine. But you got to look at the narratives and you got to look at where some of the stuff comes from and how the media can play off this stuff, right? If you run with stories that aren't true, it takes credibility away from actual truth. So you got to be very careful about the stuff you cover, especially if you're new to covering these types of topics. And I don't have a TikTok. I don't know how it works. I know people they get way more views over there and et cetera, et cetera. But I know that a lot of people want clicks and views, so they cover these topics now. It's trendy to cover it. It wasn't trendy when I started, but it's trendy now. And because it's trendy, it makes it dangerous where people pick stuff up and just run with it so that they could get, they throw us all into this basket of conspiracy. Oh, they're all conspiracy theorists, all these people. And so then we all get lumped together, and then it discredits actual truth when it needs to be spread. So we need to spread the actual truth, and we need to be careful about the stories that we cover if there isn't truth in them. Is there truth somewhat around the narrative? Yeah, there is, because Oprah knew ahead of time. There's no doubt about it. And I can guarantee you that Oprah wasn't there, like I said. So I'm repeating myself at this point. I wanted to rant about it. I saw the story. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Where are the stories? The media's, I'm sure there's some articles out there about the direct energy. I haven't seen many. But that's something they don't, kind of like, the melting of steel on the 11th of September. Like, how does a plain aluminum go through it like that? They'll have a couple things out there in late night, maybe like mentioning it casually instead of actually like showing you the science behind these things and how they're not possible. And, the science of how, they won't show you the science of how all these things melted there and how there's so many missing people that are unaccounted for and how we don't find, because we're always told in these true crimes, well, you find their teeth. Well, when they start these fires, you'll still find things, traces of them, and really strong flames, not like completely turning them to dust like really quickly, like we are hearing here. So again, I thank everyone for being here. If you want to see that Oprah video about the schools and things like that Oprah's involved in and the abuse allegations and frightening stuff, it's over on the website, uprisingrevival.com. I hope to see more people over there. And please make sure you sub to my 2 channels below. They both have been approved, my backup channels. In the event that this gets a strike or any of my videos get a strike overnight, I will not be able to upload for 2 weeks. If I get 2 strikes, I will not be able to upload ever again here. So if you want to hear me, make sure you sub to those channels if you're still listening at this point. I doubt anybody is, but please do that now. I thank you guys again. Hope you're all well. God bless you, as always, and your families.